In this lecture we'll see how to create hands with IK setup. In the existing rig that we have made the IK setup for legs and FK setup for hands. Now this is because legs always stays planted to the ground, so that when we move the hip area the legs would stay in the same place, which is good. But hands always is connected to the body at the same time. It is not touching any object, so it needs to be connected or moving freely from the body. So that is why we have created this FK control, so that we can control them from parent towards the child. So what we will do is we will remove this FK controls and we will create one IK setup, so that we can save this file as a separate file, and we can reference these files only in case where we have some kind of interaction of the hand with an object. For example, let's create a small cube. Let's say we want to create an animation of this character pushing this cube. Now we can place this character's hand right onto that object. That is not a problem. And we can also control the fingers in order to fit exactly in the same place. But the problem is when we rotate any of these controls, you can see that the position of the hand is also changing. But we want that position to stick onto this object in one place. So for this case we will have to use only IK controls. So for that purpose we're going to create the IK handles. Okay, so let's start by deleting these two controls that we don't want. Now before deleting them we have to make sure that they're being brought outside this control. Or we can also bring this left hand outside. So let's bring this out. Now by bringing it out I mean we have to bring it all the way outside this hip control, because otherwise when we move the hip control this hand control will also move, because we want them we want the hand control to move separately outside the hip control. So let's just try to bring this totally out of the hip control. There it is, good enough. Let's see if there's any transformations. No, good enough. Okay, now we can get rid of these two left arm and left elbow control. So let me select both of them and press delete. Okay, good enough. So now we have this left control outside. Okay, now we can create the IK handle. So let's go to skeleton, IK handle tool, options. Let's make sure that it's RP solver. Close that out. So we'll start the IK handle from here till here. So there we have the IK handle. Okay, good. Now if you remember we still have the constraint here to control the hand. Okay, so let that constraint be there. Now all we have to do is make this pole vector to be a child of this left hand. Oh, sorry, not pole vector, the IK handle. Select the IK handle, shift select the hand control and press P. So now let's check it out. Let's rotate. Okay, there's some little problems, some twisting going on. I think we can fix that by creating a pole vector. Okay, good. And let's check if the hand is staying in the same place when we move the hip. Yes. So this is exactly what we want when we want to put the hand on or attached to an object. So let's go ahead and create the pole vector. Pole vector we can create with the help of locator. Let's create a locator, pull it up, move it to the side, push it back. Okay, so once we got it, let's give a name. This is pole vector VEC left hand. Let's freeze the transformation, delete the history. Okay, so now select the pole vector, shift select the IK handle and go to constraint and choose pole vector constraint. So let's try, let's keep it there. Let's try to rotate this and see. Yeah, so the twist that was there is gone now. Okay, so now we can change the position of the hand, make it grab onto object if you want. You can also rotate. Okay, you can also control these fingers if you want to bend the fingers. For the fingers, it is always better to create some attributes here and for the hand control, and create set driven keys to move each of these fingers. Okay, so now you can see that when I move the entire body, the hand stays in the same place. And we can also control the pole vector in order to create different kinds of twists. So this concludes creating IK handle for hand controls. In this lecture, we will finalize the rig. So far, we have created the leg controls, we have created the spine controls, the arm controls with FK. So as you can see that I will be able to rotate the hand in any direction that I want. I can also rotate the hip. I can move it up and down. I can also animate the legs. Okay, we also have added ball roll with set driven key. Now what we need is one single control that will be like the root of all these other controls, so that when I move that root control, the entire rig will move, so that it'll help us to reposition the object wherever we want. Right, so as you can see, we have also created nice hierarchies here. So we have a hip control, which is actually the parent of all these other controls that we have above the hip area, and then we have right leg and left leg controls. So what we need to do is now we'll create one single control curve and make all these other things to be a child of that. So let's go to create, NURBS primitives, circle. So we've created a circle in the center. Let's make it bigger. Now we can create any kind of shape you like. It's just your personal liking. We'll have to freeze the transformation, delete the history. I'll give a name, call it CC Man. Press enter. Now all we have to do is select all these three controls and then shift select or control select man and press P, so that all the other controls goes inside the man control. So that means this becomes the root. Now this will help us to scale the object or move it to different places. Now scaling has to be done like this, because if you scale the character from other places, you will end up with weird different results. As you can see, the leg stays in the same place, but the rest of the body moves. If you want to scale the character, you have to scale it with this root control, and make sure that you have resetted the value, that is 111 for scale. So this is the actual size. If you want to make it smaller based on the proportion that you have, in case if you have created a bigger size, let's say you can consider that one grid point is 1 unit. So that would be, let's say if it is 1 feet, then you would expect the character to be like 5 to 6 feet high. So this is 5, this is 6 feet. So you can scale the character down to something like that and fix this as your default size. So that value will remain there. Now this is basically up to your likings, depending on what kind of units you are using and what size you want to have. I'll leave it with the default actual size, so that's 1. So this concludes the rigging of the character. In this lesson, we will be creating the skinning for this character. So skinning is basically the process of attaching a skeleton system to a mesh. So we'll just find out how skinning works first, and then we will work on the character itself. I'll go ahead and create a simple cylinder, increase the height segments or divisions. Let's make it 20 for now. I'll lift it up, I'll scale it up, bring it outside, and I'll create 3 joints. So go to skeleton, join tool, start from up here, 1, 2, and 3. I'm just going to do a basic skinning on this. Select the joint, shift select the mesh, go to skin, bind skin, and smooth bind. Now what this does is, by default, when you do the skinning itself, the joint gets attached to whichever the mesh that is closer to that joint. So now this joint is being attached with this region of mesh, and this joint is being attached to this region of mesh. So when I move this top one, the entire body moves. When I move or rotate the second one, only that portion moves. Now to see this visually, we can select the mesh and go to skin, edit smooth skin, and go to paint weights tool. And here it will basically show us the number of joints. For example, we've got joint 2, joint 3, and joint 4. And when I select these joints, it also shows me with color which area is being influenced by that particular joint. So for example, joint 2 is influencing this white region, and joint 3 is influencing this white region. And the black region basically tells that it is a region that is not affected by this particular joint. And if I select this last one, you can see that the last one is just controlling a small region. Now we can modify this region that are being controlled by the help of painting different values. For example, here I have chosen replace, and if I give a value of 0, okay, so painting a value of 0 will basically make it black, meaning that this region is now not being affected by joint 3. At the same time, if I make it a value of 1, it will be making it white in color. So that means this region is going to be affected by this particular joint. Now, to see this more clearly, I will just make a small rotation first for this joint. Okay, now this entire region is being controlled by this joint. Let me go back to this tool again, and this time I will make this value to be 0 and start to paint. As you can see, when I'm painting, these pixels or these control vertices are moving away, meaning that they're basically going towards the other joint that is controlling them. Let me just continue painting this side. As you can see, these joints, these control vertices are now going to be aligned with the previous joint. These control vertices are not controlled too much because of the third joint that we have here. So I'm just painting black everywhere. Okay, as you can see, this entire top region is aligned with this previous joint. Now let me do just one more little thing. I'll do the same thing for the last joint. I will just make this 0, 0, 0. Now some of the points are going towards the center because those points are not being controlled by any joint. Okay, now let me just undo a few steps. I can also do the same thing for adding more control vertices. I can choose this to be 1, and if I add these control vertices, you can see that these are bending towards the rotation of the second joint or the third joint, since I've selected the third joint. Okay, or if I select this one, I can also add for this one. No, last one. So to understand it simply, white color adds control vertices and black color removes control vertices. Now let's see how this works on the real model. I'll go ahead and delete these two. For the character that we have, we'll have to select the join first, shift select the mesh, go to skin, bind skin, and smooth bind. Now let me just try how this looks. Select the hip joint, sorry, hip control. At first look, it looks good enough. Let me try to lift up the leg. Okay, it's fine. Although there are some small problem here. Okay, let's see how this hand looks. Select the arm control, rotate it. Okay, there are some minor problems here also. Let me try this one. This is okay. This doesn't have any big problem. Let's try this one. Okay, that's good enough. Let's try the head. Okay, the head has got some problem. So let's start fixing from the head. So I'll select this joint, I'll select the mesh and go to Paint Skin Weights tool. If you're not aware where this tool is, you can go to Skin, Edit Smooth Skin, and choose Paint Weights tool. Okay. So here, this is the reason why I always ask you to give names to your joint. So here you can see that we've got lots and lots of joints. So just because we have given these names, it is easy for us to pick which joint we want to control. So for example, this is the top one. This we don't have to do anything. We'll just leave it like that. The head is what we want to control now. So I can select the head. Okay. If we didn't give proper names, then we'll have to search, click each of them and find out which joint you want to control. Right. So I've selected that. Go down and make this value to be 1. And I'll start to paint this entire region. We can actually do this painting on one side so that Maya will make it mirror or duplicate to the other side. So I'll just try to add this entire region. You can also make the brush size to be smaller and bigger. You can press B key and click and drag. Okay, so I'll just select this entire region. Since it is just head, I'll just do it on both sides, especially when we are working on fingers and hands and legs. We can actually do it one side and we can mirror it to the other side. Okay. And now in this neck region, we don't have to make it 100% influence, so we can actually choose this smooth option. Okay, make it a little big, and this will basically smooth out this edges so that we'll have some nice smooth result. Okay, good enough. Let me try to rotate this joint and see how that looks now. Okay, it's still having some influence coming from the other joint, so we'll have to now remove the influences from other joints, especially for this region. As you can see, when I rotate this few vertices are being pushed down. So let's go ahead and select the mesh again, go back to tools. Let's pick up the next joint we have now. That's our neck joint. You can see that the neck joint is having a lot of influence up here, so we don't want these influence to be there. So I'll go ahead and choose replace, and this time let's make it -0. I'll just remove these influences that are here. Too much of influences everywhere. Okay, because we don't want this area to be influenced by the neck. So I'll just paint out all these regions. Okay. Okay, good enough. And I don't want the neck to be controlling these areas also. I will just remove these controls. Okay, but we'll just draw one line just straight here. I'll now have it 100%, that is value of 1. I will make the brush size smaller because I don't want to influence the regions that I don't want. I'll just paint here, just here. Okay, so the neck will be controlling just the small region. Okay, good enough. Fine. And I can do some little smoothing. Smooth it out here. If it is not coming 100% evenly, it is okay because we will be making a mirror of these things from one side to the other side. So that would be fixing it later. Let me try it now. Okay, now it is much better. You can see that it is not being pulled. Okay, it's not at all being pulled. It's good enough. Okay, so you can also turn him left and right. You can see that the head is not having any other extra influences. That's good. Let's check the second one, see if it is okay. That's good enough, no big problem for the neck. Let's try rotating it sidewise. Okay, that's good, it's beautiful. Okay, so the next big thing is here. Okay, so here you can see that arm joint is actually influencing a lot of regions here, so we'll have to fix that. Now, especially at this point of time, we can actually create some keyframes just to check how these flow is coming or how the influence is changing. So what I'll do is I will pick up this control curve, set key for rotation, which axis, let's find out. It's Z-axis. Okay, I'll say right click and key selected, and let's go to 10 frames and then let's make this rotation. Okay, so what we have to check is we have to check even if I make this rotation, it should still look good, right? So let me select the mesh. Now this will be easy for us to just check how this skin or how this joint how this mesh is changing depending on the paint weights, right? So let's go ahead and check that. Okay, select the mesh, go back to the tool. Let's find out. We can also right click on a particular joint and choose or check, select the influence. Right click here. Okay, select influence. So that's one way we can pick up a particular joint that we want. So as you can see, it is having some huge influence here. First I'll remove the influence. Let's go ahead and choose replace, make it 0. So I don't want these joints to be controlled. Okay, I'll just remove almost all these because this area can be controlled by the shoulder. Okay, so get rid of these, get rid of these. Okay, that's good enough, I guess. Let's try how this is working out. Okay, that's perfect. It's not having any influence here. That's good. So I think I can just smooth out this edges, pick up the smooth tool, paint out here. Okay, paint here, paint here. Okay, okay, let's check that out. Okay, that's perfect. So the same way, we just have to do the entire mesh. Okay, so once we complete with one side, we can also duplicate to the other side. I'll just show you how these two things looks. This is also again rotation Z. I'll make a keyframe, go to frame number 10. Let's make it 70 or minus 70, minus 70. Okay, so this is how it was before, and we fixed it like this. So now let's see how we can mirror from one side, finished one, to the other side. I'll have to select this mesh, go to skin, and smooth skin, edit smooth skin, and choose mirror skin weights. So go to the options. I'll have to pick up the axis that I want to mirror, so that is Y Z axis, and we want to mirror from positive X to negative X, so positive to negative. And let's leave everything else as it is and hit mirror. So as you can see, that instantly changed from how it was before and how it is now. So we can check. Okay, so we just have to repeat this throughout the character to finish up the skinning process.